Welcome to Can I Nose Time, the podcast celebrating scent detection for fun. Join us for insights into building a connection in your team, tips for competency and success in competition, and to keep up to date with recent and upcoming scent work events here in New South Wales and around Australia. Hello, Danielle.
Hello.
What have we decided to have a chat about today?
We are going to discuss a very hot topic.
Haha,
Haha.
I like what you did there.
We've had a lot of requests to talk about heat at trials. So let's just have a little chat about trialing in hot weather.
Yeah, that actually, I was surprised by the amount of people that were interested in this topic. I think because they would like information on what they can do,
Yep.
plus even what the venue that they're trialing with um, does. It is a good topic because Sydney, particularly for people living in Sydney, we've got such extreme, well, for Australia, extreme weather conditions that we're not usually prepared for.
Yep.
I think other countries do extreme weather quite well,
Yep.
where, you know, Australia does not.
Yeah. And I think, heat also really varies when you add in humidity um as a variable. And I think a fairly mild temperature with high humidity can be more stressful for dogs than a hotter, drier sort of heat. So that's also where I think Sydney gets a bit screwed because we sometimes get hit with the really humid kind of days.
Yeah, there's definitely it can be like even today is we're recording on a Wednesday. It's very mild temperature today, like low
Mm.
20s, and Friday and Saturday are
Going to be 40.
going to be 40 plus. So
Yep.
even just that variation is, it messes with you when you're trying to plan for these things too.
Well, I think we should talk about that first up. Let's talk from a hosting standpoint because we
Mm,
host trials for ACSW. So we decide what trials we put on where and when.
mm,
Um, and I think we can say that we don't put on full day trials in the summer months,
yes. Yeah,
December, January, February.
and I think that's important to note that currently ACSW doesn't have a heat or extreme weather policy.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to the host because
Yes.
all the costs and expenses come back to the host and it's very expensive to put on a trial.
Yes.
However, having said that, we want people to make the best decisions for their dogs. We're not going to put on, like you said, full day trials in the middle of summer.
Yep.
Um, and if we are putting on sort of trials, there'll be evening trials or evening ORTs or something like that.
Yeah. Or trials where you can have groupings,
Hmm.
like element trials where we can split the start times so that no one is waiting, more than an hour to get started in their search, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah.
If you've got some shade in the car park, etc.
Yeah, I think heat does compound over the day, and if you're
Yeah.
using a building that's been really hot all day and there's no air conditioning,
Yep.
yeah, that's not great either.
So I think in terms of venues, from a hosting standpoint, we look at, well, can cars get shade? A lot of car parks do not have shade.
Mm.
And I think one thing I learnt from trialing up in Queensland was people need to bring their own shade.
And they do that very well.
Yeah.
We do not.
No, so like when you and I went up to trial a few months ago up in Queensland, we had a gazebo between us, which was able to cover my car. We spread out shade cloths that was also covering your car. We had lots of ventilation for the dogs, lots of cool water,
Mhm.
fans, all the things. And that was kind of a mid 30s day it ended up being that Nosework 3.
Yep. And because we were basically in a car park with direct sun,
Yep, no
and
shade whatsoever.
yeah, and it's taken me a while over the years to sort of start collecting these things, cooling mats and
Yep.
making sure you got damp towels and stuff available if needs be. I think, bringing your own really cold water is like ice
Yep.
water is really good too.
Yep.
And the fans, they're my go-to. I can tell that Flair really loves sitting in the car right in front of the fan
Yeah, absolutely. I've
when
also
it's
been
hot.
thinking of getting one of the misting fans, not to direct my dog in the car, but to sort of have around the car area to kind of
Like
keep.
for you?
Yeah, but also just to keep the ground and the air and the ambient temperature around my car just a little bit cooler with that misting fan. That's my next project I'm going to experiment with.
I wouldn't mind trying out the thermometer, like the temperature monitors
Yep.
for the cars,
Yep.
especially if I am at a trial and I'm one of the officials or volunteers.
Yep.
I think that might be a really good idea or something I'm going to get. And the other thing
Yep.
I don't have yet, I've got the reflective shade cloth
Yep.
things, and they're really, really good, but I don't have a windscreen shade yet, and I know that really makes a difference to bringing down the temperature in your car.
Yep.
So they're my next two purchases before um
Yep.
hopefully by the end of
So
the year.
so like just going back to trial planning, right, as a host, yes, we don't put on full day trials in summer, but even planning for a full day trial in spring and autumn, we can't guarantee that those days are not going to be summer heat.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's where people run into difficulty deciding whether to enter or not, because you kind of have to be prepared in Australia and in this day that you're going to get over 30 degrees in spring and autumn.
Yes.
So, my question to competitors is, do you need to enter a trial? And the answer is no. Just because a trial is on does not mean you have to enter your dog, and you should feel okay with making a decision in the best interest of your dog.
Yeah, as competitors, that's really on us. Um,
Hmm.
and otherwise, if all the trials were cancelled, we wouldn't be able to have trials.
No,
But, I have an older dog. There's no way I'm entering him in a trial in the middle of summer.
no,
And even, later in the year and earlier in the year, that's just not him.
no. I
Um,
mean, with Rory, he's 9, so he's going to be 10 in the middle of the trialing season next year. But I'm really looking at the time of year for him to enter trials because he doesn't like the heat and he's an
mm,
older dog and he's already the slowest dog in the world. Um, so it doesn't make sense for me to enter him in the warmer months. Like I think for him going forward, making a sort of senior trialing plan for him, it would be definitely to only enter trials in the cooler months.
yeah, yep. And I also think it's worth having a chat, like if someone is concerned about entering a trial, because trials are expensive to enter as well. Like
Yep.
I've absolutely acknowledged that ACSW trials in particular are very expensive.
Yep.
So, if you are concerned that it's going to be a hot day or something, check with the trial host. Say, if it's looking like a hot day,
Yep.
um, am I able to get a refund if I
Yep.
withdraw, 2 or 3 days before the trial?
Yep.
And every host is different. I'm not going to say that I'm going to make this as a host, as we're hosts. I'm
Yep.
not going to put the pressure on everybody else to make that call. But I know for Canine Nose Time, when we host trials, if someone comes to us the day before or even a couple of days before and says, I'm really concerned about the heat. I don't think I'd like my dog to enter the trial on the weekend. We're more than happy to give you a refund for that.
100%. We don't want heat stressed dogs trialing.
No,
And I mean, you also run the risk if your dog is so hot that they can't search, you might be excused from a search by a judge if they feel that your dog is actually in looking in physical distress.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, so with that in mind, with the possibility that you very much could enter trials and the weather will be really hot, I think that it's important to prepare your dog to search in hot weather.
Yeah, and it does come down to training as well.
Yep.
Um, and making sure you know what your dog looks like when they are under a little bit of heat stress too.
Yep.
And they do search differently. And um, when we were in Queensland in that trial you were talking about, it was quite warm, and I had my mum's dog who hasn't done a lot of searching. Um, his name's Buddy. He hasn't done a lot of searching in super warm weather. He's a good
He
little
pretty much
searcher.
has the summer off. Like he
Yeah, he did. He actually does. He only comes to class to train. So he definitely has December, January, February as his downtime. And when we went to Queensland, it was that really hot day, and I was a bit surprised. I'm like, why doesn't he look like he usually looks? Like
Mm.
we missed a hide or two in the one of the first searches, and then he got containers, no problem. Not a lot of energy expent there, but he just didn't look like he usually looks.
Yep.
And then, towards the evening, because it was an afternoon trial, towards the evening, we did the last two searches, and the weather had cooled down, and he was a different dog.
Yep.
He absolutely nailed the last two searches, and I was like, oh, okay. We have not done a lot of training in warm weather.
And there's nothing to say that dogs can't search in the heat effectively.
Yeah.
Um, because if you think this sport is modeled on working dogs, and plenty of working dogs have to do their sniffing job in hot and extreme conditions.
Yes.
So physically, dogs can, but I think that not every dog can
Yeah. And I
because
think it's important to build up to that too.
yes,
Like
like
Buddy's
if
a
you've
fit little
yeah,
dog. Like it's definitely something we can train for.
yep, it's a fitness and conditioning thing
Mm.
for a lot of dogs. Um, because searching is a lot of sustained sort of breathing, right? If you when you start to see your dog really panting and struggling to catch odor, I think that that's probably a sign that they need a little bit more work searching in the heat.
Yep, yep. Or it's too hot for them on that day, and that's fine too. You can always pull your
Yep,
dog out of one search
yep,
and go on to the next one.
yep,
Um, so I mean, we're speaking on from the competitor and a host perspective, so
yep.
we do see both sides
Yes.
of that.
I
I
know
know.
the very first trial I did in awful heat was the first time I went up to Queensland last year.
Oh yeah,
And it was a baptism by fire. It was awful.
it
From the
really
very
was.
first search, which was two back-to-back vehicle searches in the sun, and it was hot, windy, mid 30s. And I just was like, this is awful. This is really
Yeah.
awful. But my dog did not stop searching. At one point I was like, oh man, is this too much to ask her? And definitely by the end of that day, mostly I think the mental fatigue from doing a nose work 3 got to both of us. But I it was actually cool to see the difference in her searching in the hot weather and in her overall conditioning the second time we went to Queensland because I think she did work a
Mm.
lot better in the heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was a very tough day. I was the CO for that. It was tough.
But yeah, I know people have asked about whether to use air conditioning or not for your dog. So for me, um I don't think it's fair to run my air conditioning in a car park with other dogs and cars around where they are just breathing in my exhaust. So if you are gonna have your air conditioning on, please move away from other cars. I think that's really fair.
Yep. Yeah, and even then, you can cool down your car a little bit and then make sure it's set up for
Yeah,
the day. Um,
yeah, for
is
sure.
probably a good way to do that.
In the few times I have kind of run the air conditioning a little bit, I think I did this up in Queensland for one of the trials. It was just because I think it was after I'd taken my dog for a toileting walk and, I just wanted to cool her down rapidly, get her back
Mm.
to not panting. And then my preference is really to not have them resting in aircon because I think it's harder for them to go super cool air conditioning and then bam, let's go search in the heat.
Yes,
I think that's a pretty tough transition.
I lived in Micronesia for a year, and this is a random side story.
Yeah.
And there was one room in the school that I lived in that was air conditioned, the computer
Mm,
room with the library. And we would actively avoid going into that room
yeah.
because coming out of that, and this where I lived is on the equator, the hottest place
Yep.
on earth, humid hot. And we would actively avoid going into that room because just coming out of that room
Yep.
was really bad.
Yep.
Just going back into the heat is
Yep.
much worse than if we actually just stayed in the heat and were acclimatized to it.
Well, exactly. So I think that there's something to be said for making sure your dog can rest comfortably with all of your shade and your water and your fans and ventilation.
Mm.
Um, I think that that's important that they can do that without the air conditioning.
And
And if
as
you do,
much as
yeah,
possible, put your car in a location where there is some airflow.
yes.
I think that's really important, particularly if you don't have a fan, but for the love of Pete, get a fan.
I kind of think a fan is mandatory. I'm
I
gonna say
think it
it.
is too.
Yeah.
Mm.
If not multiple fans. I kind of like to set up a kind of Gulf Stream throughout my car.
Yep, I've got two fans. I've got a larger one with a larger battery pack
Yep.
and a smaller one that, lasts maybe not as long, but I will always make sure I've got
Yep.
a backup fan. Plus, if I've got the two dogs,
Yep.
in the car to make sure that those fans are, circulating air throughout the whole car.
And I just wanted to touch on stuff that dogs can wear, like cooling coats. I know a lot of people use these. I haven't tried them myself. Um, for me, I think that cooling coats, a lot of them use sort of moisture to help with
Mm.
the cooling, and I think in really humid weather, I'm not sure that's going to work as well. If you're just adding moisture to your dog. Um, but I also want to add that I'm wanting to get my dog used to wearing booties for their paws for
Mm.
both hot weather and bindies and just general paw protection. I think that can be a useful tool to have in your pocket.
Yeah, there was the last Nosework 3 we did. I was the CO for that, and it was a really warm day in the afternoon. The morning wasn't so bad, but the afternoon was really, and you were one of the judges
Yep.
for that. Um, and the vehicle searches, there was nothing like one of the other searches, I was able to change the surface, like it moved it from a basketball court surface into a shade. And I had to make changes to the search, and
Yep.
that was fine. It was in the interest of the dog. But the vehicle searches, we couldn't change.
Yep.
Um, so that would have been a really good search for people to use booties because it was
Mm,
on that, a warmer surface.
yep.
That, yeah, would have been a really nice, but once again, that's training. You've got to get your dog used to that. Maybe not all dogs are prepared
Yep.
to to accept that either, but a lot of them will, I think. And
Yeah, I think Nettle's going to need a bit of training to accept it, to be honest.
yeah, I think Flair says no, but
And the other thing I want to stress as well, if you're trialing as a competitor, is feel free to, when you head off on your searches, take cold water,
yeah.
you can take a handheld fan with you if you need, take a spray bottle, take those little portable water bottles for your dog that flip out and have that little drinking space with the water
Yes, yeah.
bottle stuff. Um, don't feel that you um can't advocate for what you need for your dog to get through the searches.
Yeah, and I think when it's really hot, most COs and hosts will try and reduce the waiting time between
Yep.
searches, but we can't reduce it to zero.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know there's a lot of people that do take those along to the different searches with them. There'll
Yep.
always be a spot where you can leave your cool coat or your water
Yep.
bottle or whatever else you're bringing with. Um, I think the only where it sort of where you want to just be careful is not to take any sort of dripping
Mm-hmm.
anything that's dripping into a search area. That's where the
Yep.
judge might tell you just to either wait or dry a dog off. We can't have wet dogs walking into a search area.
Yep.
But apart from that, yeah, they're all good options.
Yep. And I just think, it's meant to be it's meant to be about the dog. So there is absolutely, if you are, pushing your dog to search through the heat and you can kind of see that their heart's not in it, but they'll still do it for you, that's a sign you should probably withdraw.
Yeah. And it's not an easy decision.
No.
I mean, it's especially now when all these trials are going to ballot and we're,
Yeah.
it's harder to get in. Like it's a tough decision to make, but you definitely don't want someone else making that decision for you.
Yep.
Mm.
Okay, did we cover everything we needed to cover? All the thoughts in our head about this super hot
Um,
topic?
I think so. I think so. I think I was just as because I'm looking to get the car cover thing for the
Mm,
windscreen. Um, there's just the other alternative I saw somewhere someone mentioned was using a white towel to put on your dashboard to reflect the heat.
yep.
So that might be something I try in the meantime while I'm waiting
Yep.
for that. Yeah, no, I think we've covered most of it.
Yep.
Um,
And since we are heading into the summer break where not a lot of classes are on, if you're on your Christmas break, do some backyard searches in the sun, in the heat, just see how your dog copes
yep.
with a little bit of a hot weather search.
And make sure that you know what your dog looks like when they're under a little bit of heat stress.
Yep.
Because it doesn't always, not all dogs look the same.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm definitely not a vet nurse, but
Also, I think it's a totally, totally valid thing to say, you know what, as a person, I don't cope in hot weather, and maybe I'm going to sit this one out.
I definitely do not cope in hot weather. Oh yeah. I'm always looking for shade and cold water.
Yeah, for sure.
That's actually a really good point to bring up, though, is make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well.
Yes.
And your
Yes.
volunteers, like if you're a
Yeah.
volunteer, like, um, make sure that you're bringing things for the day. Like I know we usually have Powerades on us because we're silly and we're there all day in the heat and walking a lot and doing all the things. So, you've got to take care of yourself, the human too, to be able to
Yep.
take care of your dog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sunscreen is really good.
Yep.
I keep it in my car now. Sunscreen, bug spray, all the things.
All the things.
Mm.
Okay,
All
cool.
right.
I think we've done this topic.
Sure have. Um,
Um,
we will chat again soon.
very soon.